Hey, it's Justin here on 1017 The Beach. I'm really excited again to be talking with Kelly Cutinella. She's Thomas's mom and a big part of keeping Thomas's legacy alive through the Thomas Cutinella Memorial Foundation. You can learn more about that at tom54.org. Little unorthodox. We're doing this via Zoom. I remember in years past we'd be in the studio together. But regardless of the circumstances, I know us here on 1017 The Beach, we are going forward with a virtual edition of this year's Tour for 54, which is our small way of keeping Thomas's legacy alive, his legacy of kindness, compassion, leadership, and selflessness, just to name a few of the things that Thomas means. Kelly, first off, I want to thank you for all your work through the foundation and all the things that the foundation does. Thomas's story, there's other interviews that you can see to know the full story. You can go to beachradio1017.com to check that out. But in general, the long and short of it is that Thomas was an incredible kid, an exemplary kid that everyone loved because of those qualities I mentioned. Unfortunately, he passed away due to a tragic accident playing a sport he loved, football. But in a lot of ways, that it definitely wasn't when the story ended. In a lot of ways, that's when the story just began, because his legacy spread and it touched a lot of people, including us here on 1017 The Beach, which is why we're very thankful that you've allowed us to be a part of the Thomas Cutinella Memorial Foundation in any way with a Tour for 54. And it spread as far and wide as West Point and all sorts of different people and organizations. Before I get into West Point, because I have today, actually, people will be watching this later on, but today I didn't realize this is a coincidence. Today is actually Veterans Day, which is a day that I'm sure Thomas, there's every indication that he would have served his country. So the coincidence there is not lost on me. First thing I want to make sure, what was that? I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I want to congratulate you. First off, one of the first things I saw was that Tom is going to be honored this year. He's going to be inducted into the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. Is that right?
Yeah, he was supposed to be this fall inducted in October into the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame, but unfortunately due to COVID, it has now been postponed till May 12th. And obviously our hopes are that we'll all be able to get together and still, achieve that goal of inducting him. But yeah, he is the class of 2020, and we're super obviously honored and proud that he was selected.
Yeah, it's incredible. And to me, what's touching to me about Tom, among all sorts of different things, is how widespread his legacy has become, and how anyone you tell is touched by it. And before I talk to you, I always watched. There was years ago there was a feature on ESPN about Tom and West Point. Do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, we were approached by ESPN to do a piece on Tom for game day because it was the Army-Navy football game. And Thomas, as you know, had always dreamt of going to West Point. He was obviously awarded a scholarship after his passing, and he was just a big part of that. And Coach Monken had wanted to honor Tom in that game. So ESPN did a whole entire piece. They interviewed the teachers and some of his friends and some of his coaches. And it just was a remarkable piece that really exemplified how Thomas was as a human being and a giver, and his legacy with organ donation and raising awareness for football safety, as well as just being a kind person overall in general that, never needed acknowledgement. He was just a superb person, and ESPN did that piece on him. It really just showed him in such a way and what his life was before and what his life is on, as you mentioned before, and his legacy and how it continues. So it's definitely something you can see on the foundation page. You can see it on YouTube. It's out there, and it was remarkable, and we were so honored that they chose to do that on him.
So tom54.org is the foundation's website. The Tour for 54, what we do with it is we like to find students that have some of the qualities that made Tom special throughout the Long Island landscape, and we honor them with the service award that you helped us create, the Thomas Cutinella Memorial Foundation Service Award. Honestly, through my travels, just personally, since we've done it, this is going to be we've been doing it a couple of years. This might be the 5th year that we've done this.
It is. I think we started in 2015.
Yeah, so this is year 5, and this year we're doing it virtually. One thing that for me, I always remember and think about is how many different students I met that were doing things that were just unbelievable. These are people that are, we've honored people as young as 14, 15 years old that are thinking about life and thinking to help people in ways that, full-grown adults would never even think to do that. We've met some incredible people. What I want to ask you, Kelly, is through the foundation and through your travels over the past several years, could you talk about some of the people that you might have met and what that's meant to you and the family to meet some of these people that are meeting the marks and living sort of Thomas's legacy?
You always hear about, how great and wonderful your child is, and what an impact they might have had on their peers or on just other people that they would come into contact that way. But to know and meet people afterwards and find out the impact and how much he changed the mindset of people about organ donation awareness, obviously recipients, how much it impacted them. We've met like people who are in other states, like when we had gone over into California over New Year's and we had gone for the Rose Bowl parade. We met so many different people that had read Tom's story and how much it impacted and affected them and the ways that it did. And it was just very moving to know that one person can affect and touch so many different lives. Not to mention what he's done here in Suffolk and in Shore and Wading River, but all of Suffolk County. It's been remarkable. I mean, he just opened the doors to so many different ways of viewing. And like you had mentioned about the students that you guys have been honoring, it's a testament with how many people out there do such great, wonderful things like Tom did, and they did it under the radar. And you're acknowledging and honoring them is like a true testament to what you guys see as in the great in people, as well as, what you would have imagined Tom to be like. And they're all just little bits and pieces of him out there. And that's just what is remarkable, is there's such good people out there doing such wonderful things. And these are students, these are young teenagers. And it's a true testament, like you said, to them. And they all need to be acknowledged for it. And it's great that you guys in the Tour of 54 does just that for them. So I appreciate that. And, that you guys are seeking those bits and pieces of Tom and those bits and pieces of those people. And that's what makes everybody connected.
Well, we appreciate you allowing us to do this. Those are very kind words. So thank you. I feel like, especially in a year like this year, every year is important, but in a year like this year, where there's been so much turmoil, there's been so much fear, there's been just people's lives been turned upside down in all sorts of different ways. You hear all sorts of stories about the things that are going wrong, and hear all sorts of stories about reasons to be upset or reasons to be scared or reasons to be stressed. It's really important to know that they're also in the midst of all that happening. There's also people that are doing the right thing and giving reasons to be optimistic and hopeful,
Right.
and people that are helping each other. And I think that is a big part of Thomas's legacy and one of the major purposes of the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Another branch of the foundation that I realize is a major part of Thomas's legacy that we haven't really touched on yet is organ donation. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, Thomas, as everybody knows, his story is when he was 16 at the DMV, he acknowledged the fact that he wanted to be an organ donor. And then on October, when he had that accident, he did just that. He gave the gift of life to so many people. And through that, we've been able to build relationships with a few of Tom's recipients. It has promoted other people to go out there and be living donors as well. There's been a few people who have done that and donated their kidneys to save the life of others, as well as just meeting other people and not knowing their story and then finding out that they may have been a recipient or their family member might have been a donor. And it just makes this world so much smaller and makes us really realize that we're all the same. It doesn't matter who we are, where we're from, there's going to be that form of connection, and organ donation is just one of that key parts that people are becoming aware of and not being afraid of, and knowing that the gift of life can come in many forms. I had a woman I just met at BJ's who told me that her daughter was a recipient, and she saw Tom's license plate, and we had this whole exchange, and it was just a moment that we probably would have never known and passed each other at the store. So it's just really just brings human kindness back together and lets people know that life and legacies do continue on after your loved one passes, or the gift of life in being a living donor too. So organ donation is something everybody needs to have a discussion about, and everybody needs to, take that time to register for. So
Tom54.org for more details about the Thomas Cutinella Memorial Foundation. Of course, we've been doing the tour for 54. This year is going to be a little bit different. Going to be doing it virtually. We'll have details for you online at beachradio1017.com. I mentioned some of the incredible students that I've met personally doing the tour over the past several years. If you scroll a little bit on our Instagram or our Twitter or our Facebook, you'll see some of the incredible students
Yeah.
that have, I mean, one of the big things for us is also that these students, you know, they didn't do some of the things that they're doing just for brownie points or just because, you know, someone will give me a pat on the back or thank me. One of the things that moves me a lot is when we give an award to a student that is so floored that they're being acknowledged for it, because they did this because that's just what they felt was the right thing to do. They saw a problem and they fixed it, or they saw someone that needed help and they helped. And I think that's another part of Thomas's legacy, because I don't think that Tom ever thought that the things that he stands for were things he didn't necessarily think he should be acknowledged or thanked for being those things and being that way. He thought that was the right way to be.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He never needed acknowledgement, and he never did something for recognition. He always just saw people, and he saw if somebody was in need of just a kind hi, or, you know, someone to talk to, or saw somebody needed assistance with this, or it was just his nature. And he always saw good in everybody. He was never one of those kind of people who, no matter how much the conflict was or whatever, it was always something good in somebody. And it was just his character. So like you mentioned, it was always under the radar, never needed an acknowledgement. And that's what these kids are that you guys recognize in the Tour 54. It's just like that. It's definitely, you worded it perfectly.
And there's a scholarship too, if I'm not mistaken, through the foundation. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So students all throughout Long Island have been, applying over the past years. We recognize students from all different districts, not just from our, Shore Wading River community. And it's a blessing. And then it's interesting to get to read everyone's applications and find out more about them. And then as we, our committee goes down the process and we get to know some more about the students, it's really nice to see what all these kids are doing with themselves, and how much, effort they put into community service and, clubs within their school, or just things that they do outside that you mentioned that they don't need an acknowledgement for. So we like to recognize those students by, giving them a scholarship and helping them just, open that door a little bit to, financially for the colleges that they go to. So it's been kind of a great way to, continue Tom's legacy, and we're honored. And being able to do that is through donation, through our communities, all over the place. And we're very fortunate that people donate to the foundation so we can pay it forward, and pay it forward in other ways as well too. So we're very fortunate.
If you'd like to make a donation, tom54.org. I know there's a nice little donate button right there. If you'd like to make a contribution, yeah. It goes back to students that are doing the right thing. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially on Veterans Day, to sit and talk with me a little bit about Thomas' legacy. And as we kick off our Tour for 54 virtually this year, I know I'm personally looking forward to meeting tons more great students and hearing their stories, even in a year like this year, maybe even more so in a year like this year, to see more positivity in the community and learn about more future leaders. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Justin.
We'll be talking more, I'm assuming, over the next couple of weeks. Again, tom54.org. All details about the Tour for 54 we'll have for you online at beachradio1017.com and across social. Follow us everywhere. We're at everything at Beach Radio 1017, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Beach Radio.